Morning everybody, my name is Councillor Jerry Pearce. Welcome to the Streetpride and Public Spaces Cabinet Member Meeting. We're going to be discussing the bereavement services, fees and charges 2022 in this meeting. I'm with Karen Squires, Doug Walkman, Ardell Dinser. Good morning everybody. We'll start with the agenda. Item number 1, any apologies, Karen? No. Item 2, late items to be introduced by the Chair. There isn't any. Item 3, declarations of interest. No. Item 4, minutes of the meeting held on the 6th of October 2021. Doug, you weren't present on that one because it was the meeting regarding bins. Ardell, you were there. Yep. Karen, are we okay on that?
Just one thing, Chair. I mean, no problem with the recommendation. That's what passed. I did mention, and I think you agreed with me, about the use of the charging for black bins, which is the change of policy. And I note there's nothing mentioned in here about keeping an eye on reporting back on whether the policy will be okay for everybody in terms of damaged. I don't see that reflected in the minutes at all. That conversation, just having something to report back on.
Yes, I do remember the conversation. I have discussed it later on with Ian Jury and Simon Aitken. Reports will come in. If reports come in that it is slightly damaged or whatever, we will look at that on a case-by-case basis.
Appreciate that, but I'm just saying in terms of minutes, if we're talking about do the minutes reflect what we talked about? It's not in the minutes anywhere. That's the point. So if that can be corrected, I'm sure that'll be followed up anyway, but it needs to be in the record. Yeah. Thank you.
So we get to the bones of the meeting. Item 5, bereavement services, fees and charges 2022. And over to you, Doug, if that's okay.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, everybody. I'll just briefly go through the report. I know you've all seen the report, but there's been just a couple of things to bring to your attention, Chair. So the purpose of the report is to set the fees and charges for bereavement services for January 2022. And the reasons for that is so that bereavement services will be able to continue providing that professional and sensitive service to residents. The service carries out an annual review of its fees and charges to ensure it can meet the costs of providing that service, and also a comparative against other local authorities and the private sector. Just in addition, there is a children's funeral fund that we brought as a separate cabinet member report when it was introduced in 2019. And that was to cover the cost of a funeral for anyone up to the age of 18, so the family wouldn't have to have those costs as a burden. And bereavement services, along with the private funeral services, can recover that money from the government through a grant scheme. Okay, but they are now part of this report and will go up by the inflationary increase, just like other fees and charges. Okay, just a couple of new fees that have been introduced. One is a memorial option, and that's based on the fact that they were all sold and leased out, but some of those haven't been renewed, so we've reintroduced that fee. It's a 2016 fee, so we've taken that fee and added the 3% inflationary charge to that. There are some others around visual tributes and purchasing visual tributes and downloads of services. And one notable thing that's happened recently is the Competition and Markets Authority have reviewed the transparency of fees and charges across the funeral sector, and therefore Derby City Council, like funeral directors, are completely transparent with the fees and charges they offer in terms of all services. I think we had one for a container, an additional container for ashes that wasn't published, so we've put that on our published fees and charges available to everybody. Okay. And one final thing, because of the Competition and Markets Authority, an independent crematorium in the area is currently offering a direct cremation, an early morning direct cremation. And so Derby City think that we should be offering the same to give that choice, as they are in direct competition with us. So it is a reduced fee of £370, which will be reviewed annually, and it's for an early morning slot between 8 a.m. and 8:20 a.m. Okay, and that's pretty much covers the report. So in terms of the recommendations, Chair, it's to approve the bereavement services fees and charges from the 1st of January 2022 as set out in Appendix 1, and to note the Children's Funeral Fund amounts to be claimed from government from the 1st of January 2022 as set out in Appendix 2 in line with the conditions of the claim, Chair. And that's it, unless there's any questions.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Doug. Any questions from the floor? Ardil?
Not particularly to the fees. The fees appear to be just 3% inflationary, is it? Would that be right?
Yes, Hardiel, we get the advice from our accountants, and it's a standard 3%. There is one fee that you'll notice in there, it's substantially increased, and that's the cost of timber has gone up a considerable amount, over 40%, so we've reflected that in the fees and charges.
So really two things which are more, you did mention an independent crematorium which has made an offer that we have to match. Generally speaking, how competitive are we? It's more a question, more strategic question rather than actually detail of the report in terms of attracting, dare say, attracting business, because it is, it's an income generating as much as a public service, which is really important for everybody. How are we? Because anecdotally, it feels like there are new crematoriums opened outside our authority, which are doing quite well, and they're more modern and sort of more appealing. Charging is already one aspect of that. Is there anything you can share in terms of how we do in terms of against those other competitive services?
Well, in terms of the fees and charges report, Hardiel, obviously we review the fees that are provided by other local authorities as well as private crematoriums. So our fees are set in respect of that. There is work undertaken and ongoing in terms of reviewing strategies for income generation in memorials as well, and a whole look at the actual facility, especially at the crematorium. Like burials remain pretty much unaffected by that because we've got the space at Nottingham Road Cemetery, but we are also looking at a further cemetery provision in the future.
The fees are important in that, and I hope officers will continue to compare and be as competitive as possible, because that's a big area, but also the actual what the facility is in terms of when people use it, and we need to be more up to speed with any competitive organisations, and I tend to think we're probably behind the curve at the moment, and we need to do something about that.
Thanks, Ollie, for those points. Thank you, Doug. Any more comments? Welcome, Sheena. Don't worry, it's okay. Are you okay, Ardil? Yep. So we can now approve the report, including recommendations 2.1, 2.2. You okay with that, Karen? Thank you very much for attending. Thank you. Close meeting. Bye-bye.